Business Foundations for Mums, with me, Kate Butcher, is the podcast to listen to if you are a mum who is ready to launch your business, not sure where to start, or wanting to turn that sideline into something more serious. It will be full of practical tips, mindset advice, and inspirational and honest interviews with mums who are juggling business and motherhood, supporting mums in business to turn your dream into a reality. And welcome to today's episode of Business Foundations for Mums. We have with us today Louise Jowsey, and Louise is here as part of our series of interviews about mums who are within the first year of their new business and looking at those challenges that you have to face in the first year and all of the things that you have to do to get yourself set up. So welcome to the podcast, Louise. First of all, could you start by introducing yourself, who you are, what you do, and how your business and family all fit together?
Thank you very much for the opportunity. And hello, I'm Louise Jowsey. I run a company called Stable Homes, the Copy Doctor, and I work with business owners in the property sector, and I help them create engaging marketing content. I'm also mum to a 16-year-old and a 17-year-old. I have a son and a daughter, and I'm divorced, so I'm a single mum.
Gosh, so quite a lot to juggle. I guess I haven't got to the 16, 17 age range yet, so I'm guessing there's a whole load of different challenges there to face.
Yes.
Challenging times, but I suppose really exciting times as well, because your children are at that point where they're looking towards their futures and what they're going to do and where they're going to go in life.
Yeah, that's right. And also they need support, but it just looks different when they're older. So I'm able to help them with college and driving license, provisional driving license and things like that. So yeah, it creates its own challenges, but it's also really exciting, and it gives me a bit more time for my own business as well, because they don't want me reading them stories late at night and things in bed. So I can work on it gives me more flexibility with my business.
Yeah. Was that one of the things that gave you, I suppose, the boost to start your marketing business at this point?
The boost for my marketing business was, I'd already started investing in property as a side hustle when I was working in my corporate sales job. And I think that was what really gave me that entrepreneurial drive, in that I thought I'd actually really like to build a lifestyle business that gave me more time back for my family. But also I'm trustee of a charity in Cambodia, and I wanted ultimately to build a business that enabled me to have more time to pay it forward and to help others. So they were the driving forces, really.
Fantastic. Gosh, tell us a bit more about the charity as well.
Yeah, so my friend had started volunteering in Cambodia a number of years back, and she'd asked for help to sponsor a girl through university, because the boys are typically put through uni, but not necessarily the girls when money is tight. So we'd sponsored a young woman through university. She'd graduated. My friend and Sompo, the girl who'd graduated, they had a vision to build a school in a rural area, an impoverished area, so that we could provide access to education for children, for women. And really, education changes lives, just as it does here, but it does there too, and it changes lives for generations of families. It creates multi-generational wealth. And so last year we built a school, and we have 72 pupils on roll, and it's just one of the best things that I've ever done and been involved in.
And like you said, that gives you such a good incentive to change your lifestyle and move out of the corporate world and into your own business, to give yourself that flexibility, that time to commit to it, and to follow that passion as well that you've got for that charity.
That's right. I wanted a business that I could operate from anywhere in the world. And and ultimately that still remains the goal.
Fantastic. That sounds amazing. And starting a business can be quite a challenging thing. It can bring up a lot of fears in us, a lot of anxieties. What kind of fears and struggles and challenges did you find before you started your business, or in the process of starting and getting started up?
A lot of fear, Kate, if I'm totally honest. I remember handing in my notice. I handed in my notice probably 3 to 6 months earlier than I'd planned. I came back in the new year after Christmas, and that was it. The notice was in. And it felt euphoric, and then the fear came in. And then when I left after my 3-month notice period, I had 3 weeks of paralysis where I was so fraught with anxiety that I actually couldn't make any decisions. I was like a rabbit in headlights, and my brain had literally shut down, and I was doubting everything. I was asking so many questions in my, like, can I, am I nuts? I've just done this. I'm 50. I just turned 50. I'm a single parent. I was like, well, I'd just given up a really decent salary for a big corporate employer. And so that was crippling me. I was thinking, what am I going to charge? Will people want my services? Where do I pitch them? I just couldn't. It literally, I think after I'd calmed down after the first few weeks, I was okay. But it's the big questions, isn't it? Like, how am I going to pay my bills? Am I going to? I'd had a savings pot, so I knew, and I'd say that that's a big tip for me, that you've got to have money to set up a business. You need some money. Don't automatically just rely on money coming in straight away. But yeah, I was asking all those big questions in my head, like, would people have demand for my services? Would they measure up? What did my customers look like? And how much should I be charging?
Amazing. And I think, like you say, that frozen in fear, I absolutely relate to that. And there is a previous podcast episode about exactly that, being frozen in fear.
Yeah.
And we hear a lot about the fight and flight response when we're in fear. But actually now it's much more the fight, the flight, or the freeze. Freeze is another one that a lot of people really struggle with. And I think it's such a normal reaction, but one that maybe not a lot of people talk about that much.
Yeah,
To absolutely freeze in fear when you start a
totally.
business. And I've been there myself. I talked about that on that previous podcast episode. And I think you said it was only for sort of 2 or 3 weeks. I think mine was more like 3 or 4 months. So I think you've done well to push through it in that time, definitely. But for me, yeah, it was absolutely frozen in fear. I mean, for me, if I'm procrastinating over anything by doing the housework, I know I'm in trouble, because housework is always the bottom of my list. And I was doing a lot of housework at that time. So I knew I was really frozen in fear. There was something massive stopping me at that time. But yeah, it really is often a case of, feel the fear and do it anyway. That phrase, isn't it? You've got to push through the fear, and you have to actually then, I think, like what you've said there actually is really important. You've got to take that step back and really look at who your customers are, really look at what they want from you, where the demand is, really pin down those details, so that you know how then to go out and get what you want, and set your goals and create the targets that you want to achieve, and start to work towards them. So yeah, those are such key steps that you've mentioned there, and so important. Absolutely, definitely. So you said that you gave your job up about 3 months before you'd intended to.
Yeah.
So that was one of the things I was going to ask you about, was, did you sort of put off starting your business for a while, or did you jump straight in? It sounds like it was a bit of both. It sounds like you were sort of preparing for it for a while, and then you sort of jumped a bit sooner than you'd anticipated.
Yeah, it's definitely the latter. So I'd obviously I'd started to build a property portfolio so I could create one stream of income to replace my corporate salary. But then I wanted to build another business to supplement that. But the I I did act about 3 to 6 months, probably earlier than I'd planned. But that was because I'd had enough where I was, but also I realized the opportunity cost, that while I was working for someone else, it was really slowing me down and holding me back. And I realized I was at the end of the diving board, and I just had to jump. and I had to, because I knew deep down intuitively that if I did it, I could really harness my time and run with it. It was just completely holding me back in that corporate job, and also conversely, it wasn't fair on them because my heart wasn't in that job anymore.
Absolutely. Wonderful. And you went from a corporate job in marketing, is that right? To
It was,
then
yeah.
starting your own business in marketing.
Yeah, it was in sales and marketing. So I was acting. I was in a marketing consultancy role, with sales targets as well. But my career background is predominantly marketing, and not sales. More latterly sales, but predominantly marketing over 20 years.
Fantastic. And what is it about your business that makes your marketing business stand out above and over the other marketing businesses?
That's a really good question, and in fact, that's one I ask my clients a lot about why they're different. Because it's really important to understand your difference. So I specialise in marketing in the real estate sector. I'm a property investor and developer myself. I have more than 20 years experience, and so I combine the two. And where that benefits my clients is they don't have to spend a long time briefing on the whys and wherefores and detail around their own sector and business. I have an investor mindset already, and I have the marketing expertise, experience, and know-how. So I'd like to think that I combine the two, and that's my difference.
Absolutely brilliant. Yeah, I think having that speciality and that understanding already of your clients and being
Yeah,
relatable to your clients and them being relatable to you, I think you've already got a bit of a head start there, really, haven't you, in terms of being able to deliver for them what they need. Because I mean, I see it in the property industry quite a lot. I've got sort of my own separate property investment social media accounts that I was going to say I use. I don't actually use them. I just use them to follow other people at the moment because I'm quite early in my property journey at the moment. But I certainly notice there's a lot of people who market really, really well and are really on it. And that tends to be those who are more, I suppose, in the education side of things. But there's a lot of people who really don't market very well at all in the
yeah.
property investment sector at all. And it's a funny
Mm.
sector because I suppose I look at it from my point of view as a property investor that I don't really need to market. My properties are marketed by my letting agents. So I don't have a purpose for marketing yet, but a lot of people do. And a lot of people, when they get to maybe a bigger business, a bigger property business, will actually need to be marketing. And actually, sometimes it's about getting in there a bit early, isn't it? And starting to grow that reputation
Definitely.
before you need to start to market to people, so that you've got I suppose, a back catalogue of content and information about you out there as well.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And one of the reasons I started this business, I was actually contemplating setting up a sourcing business. But one of the reasons I set up the marketing was because I kept getting asked constantly by investors, oh, can you review my letters? Can you help me with my leaflets? Can you help me with my investor packs? And I realized that there was a lot of really poor marketing out there.
Mm.
And a lot of Me Too marketing, a lot of a sea of sameness, people saying the same things and not really thinking about what their difference is. And also people not working hard enough to build know, like, and trust, particularly where they're seeking private investor finance. And so I realized there was an opportunity to do it better.
Absolutely. Know, like, and trust. I mean, it's something I harp on about all the time on the podcast and with my clients. It's such an important thing. People buy from people. People buy from you, don't they? And they need to
Yeah.
have that know, like, and trust before they will consider working with you. So it's such an important thing to have. And having, yeah, that history of content there that people can look at is so important. And it sounds like you do you do the copywriting as well, do you, in terms of the sort of letters for people and the content and the things like that for people?
Yeah, so I do letters, I do investor newsletters, I do website copy. I also specialize in LinkedIn on profile optimization and building content strategies and posting plans. But I have clients who are quite confident with their own copy and just require like a soundboard, almost like a copy clinic, really.
Mm.
So, and I provide like power hours on LinkedIn, but I'd say really a lot of my business at the moment is very much about letters, probably sort of letters and websites and LinkedIn. Yeah.
Amazing. Thank you. And we talked a little bit already about the fears that froze you at the start. Are there any fears which you're finding a few months in now are still starting to come up for you, or are starting to come up for you, or are still coming up for you?
I think they're probably less fears, but more challenges.
Mhm.
So I have a strong sales pipeline now, and I can see where where demand is and where my services best fit. And also, I'm getting clearer on the work that I don't want. Now, that might be because actually I don't feel I'm as good at it, or as good at it, or I don't enjoy it as much. So I'm really starting to get much clearer on those things now and see where I add greatest value. What I'd say the challenge is probably now is the hours. The hours are crippling. And, I'm 50, and so like the hours are very long and I'm completely dedicated to it. But ultimately, I don't want that. I ultimately want to build a lifestyle business, and what I realize is that I really need to systemize, bring in more resource, build my virtual team. So I'm at that stage now where I can see that the business is viable. I have a client base, I have services, I'm becoming clearer on pricing, but I'm lacking the systems. And I'm also juggling working on the business and in the business. And I'm quite good at doing both, but it equates to basically 6 days a week. So yeah, and I still suffer from imposter syndrome at times, because there's lots of people doing marketing out there who are 20 something. And then sometimes I'm thinking, oh, God, I'm 50. What can I offer? And then I'm like, stop it. Have a bit of a word with
Experience is
myself.
what you can offer. Understanding
Yeah.
that a lot of people, a lot of the younger people in the market don't have that experience and that understanding
Yeah.
to put into the industry. So yeah, absolutely. I
Yeah.
think imposter syndrome is something that does continue to come back and bite you time and time and time again. But
Definitely.
for me, it's really about learning to manage it when it does come back,
Mm.
and learning the best way to push it back down again, or to work through it and push past it. So yeah, it's
I
definitely
think you're right, Kate. I don't think it goes away completely. And also if it does, even if you were that gung-ho, then you might be a bit arrogant if it goes
Mhm.
away completely. There's something about humility, isn't there?
Absolutely, totally. Yeah, it is something, and I think it's something that there's a lot of statistics about the fact that it affects us a lot more as women than it does affect men,
Yeah.
for a whole variety of reasons, which are far too much to go into now. But yeah, definitely a big part of it. Yeah, and I think, like you say, the challenges are really different. The systemization is, like you say, so important, isn't it, in a business? And once you've got those systems in place, then you can just start to use those systems to grow and to replicate and to continue the process. So yeah, for me, automation is such a key part of any business. I think
Yeah.
automation and systemization, those two things are just so important. And I've found, actually, since bringing systems into my business, I used to be hugely disorganized in my home life. I'm still not tidy in my home life, but I'm at least now I'm organized, and I've had to put systems in. I mean, you can see actually in the corner of the screen, if for those who are watching on the YouTube rather than listening to the podcast, but I've got my little whiteboard and it tells me what school uniforms the children have to wear on each day, and I've got my little systems and my processes and my spreadsheet shopping list and my meal planning and all those systems that I've brought into my home life that now mean that I don't forget those things at school that I need to forget. She says that I had to go back to school this morning because I took the wrong coat with me, and the money the children needed for their hot chocolate at break time today was in the coat that I left at home. So I had to go back and get it and turn around. But generally, I'm a lot more organized, because those systems that I found in business made such a difference that I was able to bring them into home life as well. I think systems are wonderful things.
Yeah. That's where I need to get to.
It's all a process, isn't it? Once you start realizing the benefits, you can start to just bring those systems in everywhere, which I think is brilliant. So yeah. And do you have a favorite piece of advice that you were given, when you first started your business or since you've started your business?
I'd say, yeah, it was a piece of advice that I actually read somewhere from a coaching from a guy who does coaching over in the States, and he said, accept the messiness and fail fast. And for me, that really, really holds true, because at the beginning it's messy. And if you wait until you do need to spend time thinking about who is your customer, what you're offering. But if you spend too much time crafting that, and you do detailed research, you'll never get started. You'll never get started. You've got to get started, and you've got to accept that you're going to need to fail fast, and that actually that's how you're going to learn. And you are going to deliver some stuff and maybe get it wrong, and you are going to do some stuff and think it's not really what I enjoy doing. And but you'll learn, and you'll just build and gather momentum from that. And I think as well, celebrating the small wins, because there's lots and lots of small wins, and it gives you a little boost. And it's really important to celebrate those and reflect those, because it's all too easy with a young business, a startup, to be focused on all the things you've not done. So yeah, accept the messiness and fail fast.
Brilliant. No, I haven't. I think I have heard variations of it, but I've not heard the fail fast. I love that. That's such a good idea, because you're getting all of your failures and things that you struggle with. I don't like the word failure, but sometimes it is the word that you need to use to explain that learning process, isn't it? So yeah, make the mistakes at the beginning, get them out of the way, get them done and dusted, so that you can start to grow and build on what is working for you. So yes, it's interesting that you said fail fast as the bit of advice, but then we've also talked about how earlier on in your business at the beginning, you had your moments of fear, and you really then took the time to knuckle down, just to quickly sort of I suppose take a little bit of time to work out who your target market are, to work out those key things, and then to get your business out there and to start making those mistakes and working out what you enjoy, what you don't enjoy. I think, yeah, what you've said as your advice reflects really well in what you said earlier about how your business has evolved over the last few months. You've clearly taken that advice on board, and you've clearly actioned it. So I think that's brilliant.
I think the other thing as well, Kate, is about listening to customers. So one thing I do now is I really listen. I mean, I listened before, but I listen even harder, like their language, what they're struggling with, is it? And sometimes it's mindset in there as well, but just kind of really, really zone in into what their needs are. And then you can talk their language, and you can understand how you can best serve and meet their needs. And I think if that's your guiding light, then you won't go far wrong, because you'll produce something that your customers want and need.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's brilliant advice. I think, yeah, customer language is really important. And I remember a business course I did many years ago, and in the marketing, one of the things we were advised to do was go onto Facebook, look at the language that your customers are using, look in the groups where your target market hangs out, and then test it when you're doing your marketing. Split test, how do your target market like to be approached? Do they do they feel, my business is for mums, do they feel more comfortable? Do you get more response when you call people hey mums, or is it hey mama, or all those different things that just those little nuances can actually make a really big difference in terms of how relatable you are to your clients. So yeah, really important advice. Thank you. And do you have a favorite business book or tool? Two different questions. Do you have a favorite business book and a favorite business tool that you would recommend?
I mean, my favorite book is a really old one. Is the Stephen Covey 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. I know that it's a really old book, but I love it, and I'm really focused on. I'm a big goal setter. Both annually, I set goals annually, I set them quarterly, I set them monthly, I set them weekly on a Sunday night, and I'll never forget what I learn about the difference between urgent and important. And and I try and set aside time in the morning to eat the frog and do the stuff that I really don't want to do, because that's often the stuff that's going to further your business, take it even further. So yeah, that's my favorite book. In terms of my favorite sort of system or tool, it's probably Dext, really, for scanning my receipts.
I love Dext. I love it. I don't use it anymore actually because my software has its own, or my accounting software now has its own version, so I don't need to use it. But Dext, when you've got if you're a business with a lot of receipts, it's such a valuable tool to use. Absolutely, I used it a lot when I was doing a lot of bookkeeping for clients, and absolutely brilliant tool. Definitely, it's definitely gone up in price since we first started using it. But once you've got it, you can't get rid of it because it's just so invaluable to use, isn't it? It's a really good tool. Absolutely fantastic. Yes, no, Dext is brilliant. And for those people who don't know what Dext is, it is a receipt uploading bit of software that you can connect up to your accountancy software. So you literally just take a photograph of the receipt and you upload it onto your Dext account and it goes, or you send Dext an email with your which is great. If you get an email that comes through, you just forward it to Dext if it's got an invoice attached to it. So it's a really useful piece of software, and it really efficiently and effectively pulls out all of the relevant details from that invoice that you would need to input manually into your accounting software. And it's intuitive as well, because it tries to work out for you what account that should be allocated to. It tries to work out whether it's accountancy based on what it's uploaded from that company historically, but also based on the text and using AI to read the information in there to figure out what category it belongs to. So it's a really, really good bit of software. And if you've got a lot of receipts to process, I highly recommend getting that one, definitely. And if you don't want to pay the full cost for it, if you've got an accountant or a bookkeeper, check out if they use it, because quite often accountants and bookkeepers will get a subscription that will bring under a number of clients under their umbrella, and they can pass that on at a smaller cost to you than if you paid for it yourself. So it's a fantastic one. Fantastic. Any other further bits of advice or further things you want to tell us about before we wind up today, Louise?
No, I just want to thank you for the opportunity. Really, I really enjoyed the opportunity to feature, and I hope it's been valuable for people.
Thank you. Well, thank you very much for your words of wisdom and your honesty about the fears. I think it's so important that mums do get to understand that these are things that are real. These are some of the challenges that, if you're starting a business, there's some of the challenges that are going to come up, but that you're not alone in those fears as well. We all face them and we all struggle with them. And there's lots of help and support out there through networking groups and various different ways that you can get that support from other mums in business and other business owners as well. So lots of ways to push through that, definitely. Thank you very much for your time. Before we do finish, can you finally tell us about where people can find you if they would be interested in looking at the services that you offer, in looking into your marketing, and also if there's any particular offers that you have at the moment that might be relevant when the episode goes out? Could you let us know where people can come and find all of that information?
Yeah, of course. Thank you, Kate. So my website's under development at the moment, but people can connect with me on LinkedIn. My surname is very distinctive, Jowsey. There's only one of me, I believe, on LinkedIn. So they can find me on LinkedIn. They can connect with me on Facebook. And additionally, I've got a free guide at the moment. I'm getting a lot of clients asking me about LinkedIn and how they can optimize their profile. I've produced a free guide. If people connect with me on LinkedIn, I'll send it to them. That's no problem. And I think if anyone's got a problem with their marketing or feels it could be working harder, then get in touch and let's see how I may be able to help you.
Fantastic. Thank you. I definitely recommend everyone to follow Louise on social media. I do, and I love your stories that pop up with your quick tips. They're really useful and really valuable. So definitely recommend following Louise and seeing what good tips you can get all about marketing. Thank you so much for your time today. I've really enjoyed speaking to you. It was lovely to chat, and we look forward to speaking again soon, I hope. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Kate. All right. Have a good day. Bye-bye.
Thank you for joining us here at Business Foundations for Mums. You can find all of our episodes, show notes and blog posts at businessfoundationsformums.co.uk, and you can follow us on Instagram or Facebook.